All right, friends, here we are. We're live on a Monday, and not for any of the reasons I wanted to be live on a Monday before the League Cup final. Looks like we got a couple people already in the chat. Good to see everyone in here. I'm on Discord with Bill and Ginty, and we got a couple extra spots in here too in just a little bit. If you guys want to, if any of you are part of the Discord server and you want to hop in and have your say, you're more than welcome to join. But yeah, I just want to say hi to the guys, Bill and Ginty. What's going on, friends? You ready to discuss the end of football?
Yeah, I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Yeah,
mate.
So let me start with Bill, because we were talking a little bit earlier this morning. Yeah, so when it comes to what's going on with the Super League and stuff like that, you were saying you're pretty furious. Why don't you just summarize your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll try and do it as shortly as possible. I for one, I think particularly for people who are from Europe or don't necessarily know like an American model, you know, the whole idea of getting promoted or relegated is so crucial to football, and it's that sense of jeopardy that makes football so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And by making it a closed shop, you know, getting rid of the idea of promotion or relegation, it just feels really, really wrong, and like it goes against exactly against the principles of football.
Yeah.
So there's that thing, but it's also the sort of, as being a Spurs fan, Tottenham being complicit in this, which also makes me feel really angry.
Yeah.
It's the fact that Tottenham are trying to, yeah, you know, destabilize English football, European football, and I just sort of think, you know, if this had happened 10 years ago, Spurs wouldn't be in the conversation.
Sure.
And I think there's a case to be made that Spurs don't have a right to be in this conversation anyway. They haven't won. Okay, they won a European trophy about 60 years ago.
Yeah, right.
And the UEFA and the Euro, what was it? The UEFA Cup, I think it was
UEFA
back in the early 80s. But it feels so wrong. Like they're also trying to pull up the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
So if you sort of think about these other clubs, Everton,
Yep. Leicester,
West Ham, Leicester.
Yep.
It's just so wrong.
So it feels unjust.
Yeah, it does feel unjust, and it just leaves a really bad taste.
Yeah. So it's the spirit of the game, maybe at first, but then also the fact that Spurs are jumping on this train. Like maybe it would be different if we were watching it happen rather than participating in it happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What about you, Ginty? What are your thoughts, and what do you think about what Bill's saying here?
The Super League, and we're talking about, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, the Super League, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's clearly like, you know, an American idea, the American investors of, like, I mean, when the Glazers is the vice chairman, and I think it's JP Morgan and a couple other investment banks are really kind of like pushed this idea, because I think it was seen in the Sky Sport interview with the sources coming to the board of directors that the American investors are always confused about why relegation is even an option.
Yeah,
they're used to the normal standard of the franchise system in America, and it's the move away from a European system to an American system. And I think just the as we were saying, me and Bill, that COVID has probably accelerated this idea, because they were kind of the mythos and allure of that, you know, the ticket sales are their primary like, you know, revenue, and they can't survive without proper ticket sales every week. It's kind of removed the fact that COVID has forced them to not be able to have the stadium open.
Yep.
So they could easily, you know, sway investors and say, yeah, we can invest in this because it's been proven with good during the COVID. You know, we've survived through these economic struggles, and move to, you know, selling, like going to Dubai for like a game or whatever, you know. And it's I think it's honestly it's just the money side of the boards and
Yeah.
the owners talking, because the fact is that they're a business, but they're a business that can't control how well they do directly.
Mm-hmm.
It's really indirect. It's on the managers and the players.
Yep.
And I mean, if you look at, let's just say Man United, for example, Man
Mhm.
United signed like a £750 million deal with Adidas. I remember it was one of the biggest like shirt deals ever.
Yeah.
But on that, they had to be hitting Champions League football every couple of years.
Right.
Now, if you remove the fact that they, as a founding member, they can't get relegated, it gives them that financial stability that they wouldn't need with just being purely merit on the football field to get that Champions League football.
Yeah.
And honestly, like the majority of fans that say, like, I would like to see this, I like to see Champions League style football every other week. I think, for me personally, I think the novelty will wear off after a while, because, like, yeah, you're playing. If you were, say, you're a Real Madrid fan and
Yeah.
you're playing, you're playing the El Clasico in the quarterfinal of the Champions League. Like, that is more than just a normal El Clasico in the league, because it's like there's like stakes involved and
Yeah.
there's a knockout stage. But if you're then going to Juventus or Man U, it's like a big game because everything's down to these couple of games, these two legs. But like, let's be honest, right? It's Tottenham, right?
Mhm.
We're not. Tottenham and Arsenal are going to be. I think I've seen several news articles saying
Yeah.
that we're just going to be the European whipping boys.
Oh, totally.
Like if Tottenham go to play Barcelona and it's like we're in the second, where it's like 10 games left in the season and we're at the bottom place. There's nothing to it. It's
Yeah.
just to watch them play, because
Right.
there's no risk of us getting relegated.
Yeah.
And it's just you're just watching just to watch like a normal league game, and it's just there's no allure anymore. And also, I find it, as you were, I find it quite ironic that
Yeah.
this is purely greed, because I think there was a quote on the board. One of these couple of these board of directors
Mhm.
have been leaking stuff because of this. Isn't unanimous. There's several board members in several of these teams that are vehemently against this,
Mhm.
and so they've been leaking some stuff. And like some of the owners are just saying that the number one priority is their revenue and profit, and then the overall health of the game is second.
Hmm.
And it's just that level of greediness. And
Yeah,
I
I
find
saw
it,
that.
yeah, and like I find it ironic that out of all the teams, right? Because remember, you were like, people talk about. No, you mentioned it yourself. That
Mhm.
the big money that came in, the sheikh money and the oil money
Yeah.
from these Arab countries, right?
Mhm.
PSG said no to it, and then Manchester City only
Well,
agreed when every other
yeah.
Premier League team said they were going to do it. And so Manchester City said they don't want to play in a weekend Premier League or weekend Champions League.
Yeah.
But like, I find that ironic that that the ones you would normally see
Totally.
as just the money people have actually said no to it.
Well. So this is perfect, because I personally, I feel like I don't know. I don't. It's so fresh, and I don't even know what the ramifications are yet for the club, for the players. Right? I mean, there's threats that like Harry Kane's never going to play for England if he's part of this. If he's part of this, So I don't really know. I don't have a fully formulated opinion yet, and I'm just trying to go back and forth and say, okay, Bill and I were talking earlier about how, it ruins the competition of at least the Champions League, potentially the Premier League or the Premier League, and so while I can understand that in some sense, my pushback is at the relegation level, I would agree that the English pyramid is merit based up until a certain point of the Premier League, and then it's money, and it's only money. And if you talking about Manchester City, they bought a goalie, they didn't like that goalie, so they spent another, what was it, 60 million on another goalie the following season. We, as a Spurs fan, we have never had that kind of money to I would say compete. You need the money to compete at a certain level. And so what I think, and this is, again, just trying to be devil's advocate, Bayern and PSG don't they don't need to participate in this, in part because they're getting all of the money from their respective league. They're winning their league every year. The TV rights are mainly going to them anyway, whereas the top 6 of the Premier League are having to fight over that money, right? Like, and so now with the money being more diluted in the Champions League, they're going, we're gonna not only lose our spot in the top 6, we're gonna lose our spot in world football. And you could say that's part of the game. That should always be. And I'm with you. I told Bill.
Well, see, the thing is though, like, sorry, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
My Discord had to reset for some reason.
Oh.
Well, PSG, I can kind of see, yeah, the big fish in the pond, and maybe they just want to keep it that way. But I'm pretty sure, isn't it not Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich said no to this because of the 51% rule?
Yeah, exactly.
That's certainly part of it, I would say. But they're also like dominant, and I just think it's hard to keep that out of the equation in terms of how they're doing financially. And so yeah, you might be right. It might
but
be.
You say that, right? But like, I mean, if you think about it, right? The beginning of this season, everyone was talking about how it's just Liverpool now. It's just Liverpool is going to win. Like, it's so back in your mind, like, you know, everyone was just thinking it's going to be Liverpool or Man City and then everything in this season. Like, the season went as it was, and now you're thinking everyone's kind of open. But let's be honest, man. People in the last couple of years were saying it's between those two big clubs. Yeah. And so we're not as open-ended as it was.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, someone just made a comment here.
Sorry.
I was just going to say someone made a comment, and then I want to get. It looks like Eunice has joined us as well. Eunice, if you want to unmute and hop in on this, there's a person who said the only reason PSG aren't in the Super League is because Qatar hosts the World Cup and Qatar own PSG. Bundesliga. James McGrath says Bundesliga. Anyone the most fair play leagues besides. I'm assuming that's Britain. It might be a spelling error, even though.
Bayern.
Oh, besides Bayern, yeah. But the other teams are so competitive between one another. There it is. Yeah, thanks. And I think, there is more competition for, like, say, a Borussia Dortmund turning it down. But yeah, I really do feel like, so when as an American fan, I mean, if I wanted to watch a closed system, I'd watch the MLS. Right? Yeah. I mean that's literally what that is.
That's what they're trying to do right now.
What's that?
That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah. Well, so I would say yes and no. So they're trying to create a closed system for the Champions League. But I'm still confused as to how this is totally going to ruin the pyramid, because if these 6 teams move out into their separate Super League, then that would, I would assume, mean Everton, Wolves, I
can explain that point, but
yeah, go for it.
Well, I'll let Eunice.
Well, I was just going to say those guys are going to get the Champions League money, right?
Right. No,
but that money won't be there. That money won't be there because the advertising revenue will have gone way down because all the biggest football clubs in the world aren't playing in that competition anymore.
Yeah.
So the Champions League,
but also the fact is that it's going to really knock on effect of grassroots football, because all the money that the Premier League brings in, that trickles down to all the other teams. You know, that's like, so if you remove the big 6 teams from that, like, because like basically that's what it's going to be like.
That's a separate question to the format of the Champions League.
But aren't we proving their point though?
He was asking about, like, was he not asking about how is this affecting the leagues and stuff, the money? Is that not what you're talking about?
I'm saying
that's what I'm saying.
The Prem.
Well, because they bring in revenue for the Prem, because let's be honest, the majority of the global watching audience would want to see these, not even the big 6, like the big top 4 teams play, right?
Yeah.
And if they remove that because it's under contract, it says the Premier League teams cannot join other leagues unless without their specific permission.
Sure.
But the Premier League it's also been stated by the board members in these leagues that they are going to, if they can get this through, they are going to prioritize European Super League games.
Yeah.
So the midweek
Yeah.
games. So the midweek games are going to play their best team, and
Right.
then the league
Yeah.
games are going
Yeah.
to play their worst team. So why would someone want to pay to watch, like pay a subscription service to watch the B team of these teams play? You know, so they're going to remove revenue eventually, and if the Premier League say no, we don't want you, then they kick them out. Then they completely remove the revenue stream from these big teams.
Yeah.
And the other thing is,
why.
if they're not competing, like at the moment, the whole thing is race for top 4.
Yeah.
You know, who's going to get that Champions League spot? If you remove that element as well, and they're just in a hermetically sealed league, that has no consequence. It doesn't matter about getting into the Champions League or winning the league, even, because that, like Ginty says, that's not the main priority.
Yeah.
And it will just have such a detrimental knock-on effect.
Yeah. So Eunice, you're in here. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Welcome. Glad to have you on the live stream for the first time.
First stream I've ever been on.
Yes.
I've been busy the whole 4 months with school.
Yeah.
And then
Well, so now you've got you don't just follow Spurs, right? You follow
I follow Atletico Madrid too.
Yeah, and they're also in this conversation, correct?
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on that?
I think Diego Simeone came out and he said he was going to support the decision of the club. Same with Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah, I mean, but what else are they going to say? Right? Like, what is he going to say? Please let me go. I don't think that's even possible.
I mean, the question is let's say let's say the invitation was not given to those top 6 clubs and it was given to the other clubs. Do you really think they're going to value what the fans are going to say and reject the money involved?
No. I don't. I actually don't. This is another thing Bill and I were talking about earlier this morning, which is the game might have been gone for a long time, but now the owners are just simply being honest. They're just simply being honest about it.
The issue is not the top 6 clubs anymore. The issue is just with the owners of every football club. Right.
Yeah. And financial fair play, it's just interesting to me because as an American fan, we have these systems in place that are closed systems. They redistribute wealth and they redistribute talent year on year.
And I think the MLS engulfed one of the soccer leagues.
Oh yeah,
that was housing Canadian teams and American teams. That was called NASL. I think.
Yes.
And shut it down 2 years ago.
And they quote unquote have a pyramid, but it's not a pyramid. Literally, and I don't know what your thoughts are about the MLS. I am about I don't like the MLS at all, and I think it's literally a billionaire's pyramid scheme.
I think if it had a relegation system, with the Super League, if it had a relegation system and a promotion system,
right,
it would have been different.
Well, it would have been, but this is what's so you have to understand when I think of what the Super League is modeling itself after, it's a model of the MLS, which is something I don't like at all. So I'm not pro Super League. I'm just trying to understand a couple things. One, as a Spurs fan, and Bill and Ginty, you guys can jump in on this too. Would you rather be Everton right now, or would you rather be Leicester? Not part of this, sitting on the outside. Because it's happening. It's whether or not we want it to happen, it is happening. Would we rather be part of that or not part of it at all?
I don't know about that. Well, let me jump in quickly.
Yeah.
I don't know about it's 100%, and this is their full intention, because the thing is, I think there was the timing is so weird for this.
Yeah.
They actually did this when UEFA had a scheduled meeting press conference, and it took the wind out of their sails because they were showing the new Champions League system.
Yeah,
and the UEFA president has came out and has said I was saying to Bill, some really damning things, particularly Ed Woodward and the Juventus chairman Andrea Allegri, and he is called them liars and snakes.
Oh, I saw that.
I mean, right. So Ed Woodward is apparently the day before they released this and gave this news, he had spoke to that president and was completely happy and completely signed off. And they were saying that, the pre-press release things that they give to the press a couple of days before about what their agenda is for this meeting, what they're going to show off. They're usually quite sketchy, but this one was all detailed out, planned. So this was all in the works and everything was signed off, and a lot of all these major clubs and major leagues were all signed off. Everything was almost, they were ready to just show off the finished product.
Jeez.
And he said he had a personal phone call with Ed Woodward the day before, and how he was he said he was completely happy with it, and he'd signed everything off. And then the next day, he then goes and throws this, and then Andrea, the Juventus chairman, is even more of a
yeah, right, because he's on the board.
Yeah,
he's on the board for the European Club Association, so he's supposed to represent 200 odd professional clubs throughout Europe and their interests. And he had extensive talks with the UEFA president, because obviously every club that he's supposed to be representing is involved in that in some way, even down to the bottom tier teams where they can get Europa League. And was apparently all nice, and he was liking the new system and stuff, but then secretly he has really just been working for Juventus.
Dude, humans are evil, bro. They're just oh my gosh, especially when greed is involved. I should say.
So, but what he's saying is they're not firing yet, but they are really considering if they're giving them a minute to take all this backlash. And the fact is, the owner said they knew about there was going to be such this bad press, and they don't care. It's been leaked, they just don't care about it. And what they're going to do is sanction all these players, so every player who's playing for it can't play in the Champions League and can't play in the Euros.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I was really wanting UEFA, if this is coming after your money as UEFA, you've got to hit them where it hurts them, their wallet. They've shown their Achilles heel doing this, that they only care about the revenue.
Yeah.
So you can just say no one can play in those Champions League, no one can play in these leagues, and you can just say we'll give. You should just create a system where you just say we'll give you a severance package to any player that removes himself from these clubs and goes plays for another club. So we'll pay for your contract to terminate, and pay a part of your wages to not be a part of this system. Because let's be honest, man, they're nothing without their players. So if they can get them sanctioned, and then it's a nice PR move for all these players for their social media. They say, I stand by, I go for football, I think Mbappe might be, he's young enough and still starry-eyed, I think most of the big names would agree, apart from maybe Neymar, because Neymar's like.
And you've got Erling Haaland as well, right? So you got Haaland on the precipice of a huge transfer, right?
Yeah.
So where is he going to go from Dortmund? From there to where? Now, with the Super League really kind of jumping into those those contract negotiations, he's got leverage to say, listen, if I have to give up, playing for my national team, playing in the Champions League, yada yada yada, I want more money, and I have this sick feeling that the amount of money that's going to be, put into these clubs, it's not just going to be for transfers, it's going to be for maintenance, it's going to be giving the Messis, the Ronaldos.
But the thing is, part of me sort of thinks lots of these chairmen have clubbed together to come up with this Super League, in part as a keeping costs down, because if you make it a closed system, you're not
well, but they're still competing with the others.
But if you've seen the money that's been
like the American Football League, they
Uh-huh.
have a wage cap, don't they?
Yes.
And football owners would love to have a wage cap.
Of course.
So on the one hand, Haaland could in this hypothetical league could have more leverage.
Right.
But if they all say, listen, all the clubs that you're going to be going to, that's what they want. They don't want to be in this bidding war saying, okay, Haaland, we'll pay you $500,000. Haaland, we'll pay you $1 million. They want to say, look, wherever you go, you're going to get this. You're going to get this.
Yeah.
And it's just basically...
Oh, it's so dirty.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of the reason why they want to do it.
Yeah, because also they own it.
Exercise.
They own it. Like the regulatory bodies of this league is going to be the clubs. It's going
Correct.
to be the owners.
Yeah.
Correct.
There's no independent body like an FA or anything.
Correct.
It's all the club owners, and also the money is going to they're going to keep called out with the potential player caps, but the money that's apparently been figured out there is that they think they can make 300 to 350 million a year off this, which is 3 times as much as winning the Champions League. So
yeah, that's the thing that is so it's hard to predict, is that see
they're telling investors that, you know.
Oh yeah, but so the reason why if the Super League was going to replace the Premier League, I would say this is so clear. Like it's so obvious what they're doing, but it's not. It's replacing the Champions League and Europa League and the Conference League.
It's trying to guarantee Champions League money every year without having to play well in the league.
Correct. So, but the reality is, these certain clubs, I wouldn't say all of them, right? So Man City has like blank check every year. Doesn't matter. What do you need, Pep? No big deal. But teams like Spurs are trying to have a balanced, a balanced account, and that's because of our ownership. So that's why I'm saying this is, even without the Super League, it's trying to be a closed system. It's not fair. It's not a fact that Leicester won is like almost better for the Liverpools, the Man Uniteds, the Man Cities, because it's like, we can keep the dream alive and keep doing this for another however many, because the system is not at the very top. It's not meant for anyone outside of however many, 6 clubs have ever won in Premier League history. That's one thing. That's one thing you can say, at least, as much as, I don't want the MLS system. I'm not saying that. I'm a part owner of Detroit City FC.
Can I ask you all a question then?
Yeah,
Do you think the major driving point for us even being in competition, to being even in talking with this Super League, is the fact that we have that stadium and it has all that facilities and all that revenue money?
So I'm gonna bring this up on my page, but this was a tweet that was, I don't know, last night. Someone was saying, this Blower THFC says, Daniel Levy knew this 10 years ago. When did Spurs begin plans for a new stadium? 2009. That's when Wenger reported about the new Super League. The stadium is the only reason we qualify this. That's why we never spent any money in the windows. And then Simon, who I've talked to a lot on Twitter, he's started going even more so, saying that's why we hired Jose. That's why he's waited for the naming of the stadium. That's why he hasn't been worried about the top 4 race. That's why he wanted Bale back. Like, it's all this jostling and positioning in such a way that we can say we're in the quote unquote leading clubs, right? We're definitely not the top clubs right now. We're part of those leading clubs. And I don't think they're 100% right, but I do think there's something to be said of, think of the amount of money the stadium rights are now, right? Like what they were before, you'd say, okay, well, we should, be up there in some of the top ever naming rights. Well, it's like now you're looking at a stadium where Barcelona, Real Madrid, Juventus, Atletico Madrid, they're coming to this stadium week in and week out. And all those eyes are going to be on this stadium week in and week out. And your name is going to come up every time somebody, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could see it being the JP Morgan stadium at this point. And then spending significant amounts of money. So again, this is why it's like, as a fan, it's like I'm struggling with, we get to continue to be in the conversation. Like we could have been left behind. You could be any of those other clubs right now sitting on the outside. But when this first came out, when Project Big Picture came out, what was that, in January or I think it was I think it was January. When Project Big Picture came out, it was snuffed out, right? Like, it came up and then it disappeared. And I thought, That's really interesting. And also, I thought that's what was happening when I heard reports earlier on Sunday morning. I thought, well, this is probably another ruse to try to get more money for Champions League, blah, 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 blah. But, dude, they've signed it. They've all put out statements. This is going forward.
And I think I read
I'm not so certain.
For 23 years down the road.
Right. That's what they're talking about, is a quarter of a century.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane.
This is game changing.
Yes.
I've got a little theory.
Yes.
About all of this. When we got rid of, when we've had a special relationship with Real Madrid.
Yeah, right.
And I've got a theory that since that relationship with Real Madrid has came to fruition for the past couple of years, I bet that was one of the reasons why Perez has had a long time plan of all of this.
Yeah. Well, it does seem like really strange, and I've seen some people on Twitter saying something very, very similar to this idea, James, that basically there's this is the special relationship that Daniel Levy got us into. And again, you just are like, I think that's what's so hard. Maybe Bill, you were talking about this earlier. It's like we don't belong here. Like in the soul of us, it's like we are the we're not.
She was like we're like there to make up numbers.
Yeah, yeah, we're like the step kid that like dad. We like understand that we're like part of this, but like I just want to be at Christmas with my family. Like I don't know. I just feel like we're not really a part of this, but we are. And that's where, again, you go back to Daniel Levy, you go back to like who he is. Like the guy is a mastermind at this kind of thing. We should, but, and it's like, it just feels.
He's a mastermind, but he's so good at it. That's not even funny.
Did you guys look at the new Champions League format? It's kind of similar to the Super League.
Yeah, it is.
I haven't seen it.
Performances in the past Champions League run.
So wait, so can you explain that a little bit, Eunice? Can you just, if I haven't seen it myself, and for anyone else who's watching?
I mean, anybody can help me out here, but I think I read like you'd be judged if you don't do well in your league and you don't finish in a Champions League spot. You'll be judged based on your previous Champions League run and how far you made it into the competition.
Yeah.
So you automatically qualify regardless of your position in the league.
Jeez. Yeah.
So is it the same kind of like thing they rate you with pots, like the coefficient stuff? Is like,
yeah. Yeah, it's exactly like that. And guess who was pushing for that? The owner of Juventus, Andrea Agnelli. He was the one who was one of the main pushers of this new like Swiss model for the Champions League format.
So, but that's what
and then you see exactly basically that the Super League is like almost the same thing. How many is it? Like 20 teams, and you split off into 2 leagues of 10, and then you play each other. It's so
kind of
dodgy.
Based on like the NBA model, like West and East Coast.
Yeah.
Well,
Anthony, can I just say it's interesting when you were talking about how in the Premier League you're not supposed to have a Leicester.
No, I don't believe that.
No, but you look back to last summer when there was all that talk about Newcastle being taken over by Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
that's why all those Premier League clubs kicked up such a fuss, because they were like, no, we can't have another Chelsea, Man City.
That's what I'm saying.
Oil money coming in here and disrupting it even further, especially when they were probably already planning this Super League. So they're like, oh no, we can't have this other, this arguably the wealthiest club in football.
Right.
And then they're gonna want a piece of this pie as well. No, Newcastle, you're not part of this. And then they just blocked it.
So I could be wrong, because I'm from the outside. I feel like I've been watching Spurs for about a decade, right? And I've been watching like how this seems to work. And what you're saying, Bill, to me shows that it's not based on merit. Like what that right there says this top league has nothing to do with merit and has everything to do with money. If a rich owner comes in and starts playing, spending their money in this league, now all of a sudden we've got competition. The competition is not in the competition; it's amongst the money of the owners. And so someone like the owner of Man City, I mean, it's like, dude, I don't know what their reasoning is for getting involved with Manchester City, like in behind the scenes, but spending, I think they spent, there was a graphic I saw a couple of years ago that they had spent more on their back four than every country had spent on defense spending than the United States.
Jesus.
And
400 million.
Yes,
defenders.
Only the United States has spent that much on their national defense, like the actual military. Like that is.
I think the U.S. military spends more than 400 million.
No, of course, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Only the U.S. has spent more than Manchester City on their back four. That's so atrocious. Like how in the world? Like
that's more than what Canada has spent on its entire military.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's history.
Yeah. But that's what I'm trying to say though, is like, tell me this is based on merit when you see that kind of thing. It's like Pep even admitted it as much himself in an interview not that long ago, that like he has the luxury of looking out literally into the world and saying, I want that guy. And if that guy wants to play for Pep Guardiola in Manchester City, he gets him, because they have the bankroll to pay the transfer fee and the salary. And so a team like Spurs, who has, I think it's actually honorable the way that Spurs is run. I want Levy to spend buku bucks too, but it's like, hey, we're playing by the same rules as these lower teams. We're not breaking our bank. We're not overspending. I think even Brentford spent more on transfers than we did. But it's yeah.
Go ahead. So I was saying, like, do you think that we should make it financial fair play more, strict? Because the way that Man City get away with that, right, is because the guys that own Etihad Airways,
right?
And so they spend ridiculous amount, and then you're like, well, the financial fair play says, you're just spending, you're not adding any more revenue. You've got to balance your sheet. So what they do is they just get Etihad Airways to spend 100 odd million on sponsorship. Because they own that country, and then that company, and then that just balances it out. So do you think they should remove legal loopholes like that?
Well, I mean, what is financial fair play for? I mean, as much as you might not like Jose Mourinho, I think what he said about the whole financial fair play issue was true. If you are not liable, why are you paying a fine? What did you do? If you're innocent,
either way of the decision that either could have costed City dearly, or ultimately what did happen was it actually negated all the bad things that might have happened.
When they paid the fine, you mean?
Yeah, it turned out to be not that much.
Right.
And Jose Mourinho said that either way, it's a disgrace as well. Yeah. Because it shows that you might as well not have financial fair play.
Oh, totally.
It was negligible.
Especially to a club that has spent $750 million, like $750 million. You're gonna find them like thousands of dollars. I mean, what is that? That's just crazy. So
well, I mean, financial fair play is more of a system to prevent clubs spending money that they don't have and then rolling into bankruptcy, rather than finding
that's
clubs
again
finding clubs that spending money that they have. Like Man City has the resources to do that.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter if they go negative 250 million in debt that financial year. Like they have the resources to do that.
So that's what I think. Maybe as someone again from the States, I look at financial fair play as like some sort of governing body that not only helps at the bottom to make sure the bottom doesn't fall out of a club, and obviously what does that do to a community when that happens? But I would assume, wrongly, but I assumed that it also did something at the top to keep the scales of justice in terms of spendings and incomings and all that stuff. But definitely not.
But it's not only Man City. I mean, if you
No,
look
I'm
at
just using them as an
Barcelona
example.
and Real Madrid, like I think Barcelona's slowly going bankrupt. And
Yes.
then you have some issues with Real Madrid
Yes.
and like PSG and even Atletico Madrid to a certain extent.
Yep.
Like they're just splashing cash left and right.
Totally. It's not a sustainable business model. When they did the Project Big Picture, I did a video on that and talked about there's a company called Visible, and they basically go into the finances, and they've been predicting a Super League for, I don't know, I think it's like 10, 15 years, because they have revenue, but it's not an actual revenue. It's not something that's going to owners or investors. And so when you look at someone like Daniel Levy, ENIC, they actually want a return on investment. So does the owners, so do the Glazers, so do the owners of what's the Fenway Group over at Liverpool, right? They want to actually see a profit for their investment. And they're competing with, and I'm using them as an example again. You could use this in any other country, but they're competing with Sheikh Mansour, who doesn't give a rat's if he's got any return. He's just like, we'll just keep spending.
Do you think that maybe you could have a compromise with the money in football is getting to that point where these clubs are, it's the disparity of wealth kind of thing.
Totally.
The 1% and the 99. Because have you heard the reports of what how Erling, you're talking about Haaland?
Yeah.
He's touring. He's touring he's still part of Borussia Dortmund, but yet he's going on tours of clubs, just openly selling it.
With his dad and Riola.
Yeah, Riola. But Riola is asking. It's been touted that Riola is asking for £1 million a month after tax for a 20-year-old.
Yeah,
a £1 million, mate. That's $1.5 million a month. That is ridiculous money.
Right.
That's insane money.
So that's what I'm trying to say though. Is so you can. This is more to me about sport theory, right? And how, I would use the American sports models as an example of there's salary caps and there's players unions, and those players unions are working together to acknowledge to those leagues, here's what our demands are. And they might say hey, we only want to play, think of Heung-min Son and Harry Kane, how many games they're playing a year. And it's terrible for their bodies.
I'd say the ones who consistently play for the national teams, then they would play a lot of games. But
even think about
Heung-min Son, for example.
Yeah,
he plays national team, but he doesn't play often.
Sure,
enough.
But we had to play into the Europa. We had a pandemic that changed the whole season and front loaded and back loaded games. And then people, teams were not required to forfeit when they had COVID issues. And so you had to move the different games around during the season, right? All those different things. Yeah. If they had a players union, that the players union could say, stop. This is not happening.
Yeah. And it's not just club football. It's also things like the Nations League,
totally.
Right?
Yes.
That UEFA have implemented here in Europe.
Yes.
That is just a whole nother level of meaningless international competitions, which
Correct.
is putting even more strain on the players.
Yes.
And making them far more likely and susceptible to getting injuries.
So here's the thing. So that's why
they're
Haaland,
also part of the problem.
But Haaland, so imagine yourself a 20-year-old player. If I've got to play that many games, the game is not what it used to be. I have to play that many games every season. No, well, my career, I'm not going to play till I'm 35. I'm going to play till I'm 30. So if I'm going to play 5 years less, then I want you to front end my contracts. And that way, if I get an injury, you're going to be still paying me early on. I mean, this is how, like, the NFL have guaranteed contracts. If you get injured and you're done, you still get paid, because that league is so violent in terms of its play that, a guy gets a concussion, a guy breaks his leg and tears his ACL, etc. He's done. And I I went to high school with Eric Fisher, who was like a first round draft pick. The guy just tore his Achilles just before the Super Bowl. And the recovery of that, plus coming back to the NFL, and the guy's in his 30s. It's like, yeah, good luck, dude. You're done. That you're forced to retire. And so if these guys are looking at that, Heung-min Son's looking at his contract going, do I want to play in the Super League? Well, how much are they going to pay me? If it means less games and it means more money, and now he's got to think about glory as well, right? He's got to think about, is he willing to give up Champions League glory for the money? Because the owners are already doing it. The clubs are already doing it. And my guess is that the players are going to eventually follow suit. The money will be so disgusting.
Yeah. Did you see that was leaked that you're talking about this international game time, that these owners are more than happy for these UEFA and FIFA to do these sanctions for to stop their players playing international, because they've came out on the board saying that they do not they don't think they are adequately compensated for their players going to international duty, and they playing for their country, so they actually don't care that they have to play. They don't have to play those games for them
believe it,
and risk getting injured. So it's down to the players wanting to play for the international teams. It's not going to be the clubs that are going to
hear me out. And I'm going to play like the devil's advocate. Mm-hmm. Do you think that those clubs leaving their leagues would push up those teams that are in their league and give them a better chance at maybe qualifying if there was a relegation system in the Super League itself?
Well, there's supposed to be 5 spots in the Super League they're not technically promotion relegation. They're like you described, which is
like wild cards.
Yeah, like a wild card.
The people are chosen by the founding members, aren't they?
Yeah. So it might be like Ajax one year, Galatasaray, Celtic.
See, those are the clubs that are getting Everton. The most screwed, I think, because they don't have a competition that gets them in, and they don't have any founding members.
Make the top 3 in the Super League, if you get top 3, you're in the Super League, and then the rest is kind of like a playoff championship.
Yep.
Method, and then the bottom, let's say, up 10 or 8 or however much are relegated back to their leagues.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, still that's what we're thinking of as a fan or or a compromise, but it goes against the entire system.
Yeah.
They've set up this. It defeats the point completely of what they're trying to do. They're trying to have Champions League level money without having to play have that relegation point. They're trying to guarantee that revenue every year.
Because if it was built that way, I think the money could be drizzled down to those teams that are just about Everton, Leicester, Aston Villa, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, but it's these clubs that are making this league. It's not like an FA or like a UEFA that's making this league. It's them trying to guarantee revenue.
Yep.
So for them.
I want to acknowledge one thing about this, and then I do want to talk about Jose, because we fired our manager. So we should probably talk about that too.
Did that happen?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
We fired our manager the week before a cup final. So, but before we do that, I want to talk something Bill said earlier today when we were talking on the phone. Is this term of legacy fans? I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, saw that,
bro. Dude, do you know what legacy means in America? I'm just joking. This is not real, but it means senior citizen. That's what that means. That is a senior citizen leaving a legacy. And that's just a nice way to say the old guard. Yeah. So this seems very obvious. Well, they're trying as best they can to not give the middle finger or 2 fingers to the old legacy fans, but they're very clearly saying there's a new direction. There's a new fan we're looking for, the future fan of football. What do you guys think about that? And going back to this whole idea of what Bill was saying, Spurs are a part of this. Do you if you're a quote unquote legacy fan, if that's what you've been dubbed, that's what they're saying of you. Do you find a different club?
Ginty, do you want to go first?
No, you go, mate. You go.
I think it's a really difficult question, and I think that's kind of ultimately up to each individual fan themselves, because I think it's part of the thing is these owners of these clubs who are trying to form this breakaway league, they know that they've got us by the proverbials.
Totally.
Or certainly a lot of the fans, because they haven't got anywhere else to go. That's not part of the ethos of football, that you change your club. It's basically you're born into it or you choose it, and then that's it. You don't swap. You don't say, oh, they're doing rubbish this season, I'm now going to swap to this.
Right.
So the concept of leaving or supporting another team is really, really foreign or alien.
Yeah.
But I completely understand why fans would want to choose another club. And also, how else do you show your disgust and distaste for this model or for this new league? I personally, I'm born in London, but I live in Rotterdam in the Netherlands. So part of me might be like, if this were to happen, and I'm not convinced it will happen.
Right.
Still, because I've just been following all what's been said in Parliament today, and all the measures that they're going to try and use to stop it from happening.
Yeah.
But if it did go through, I think part of me would still follow Tottenham, but it would be like
from afar.
Not only from afar, but it would be a bit like, how we talk about before COVID, pre-COVID and post-COVID. It would be like pre-Super League, post-Super League.
Yeah.
Like you might say, oh, actually, you know what? I'd rather follow Feyenoord,
sure,
who are a team here in Rotterdam, for those who don't know, and that's more of a connection that you would have. Or I might say, oh, I'll choose another team in the Premier League.
Yeah.
To kind of follow, but again, it's so weird because the idea of cheering on another team that could be still playing against Tottenham in the Premier League.
Correct.
I couldn't do that. But you might be. Yeah, I haven't really processed it. I really don't know.
No, well, so the reason why I'm asking is because Holly Gumbar, who has her channel Holly's Hotspurs.
Oh yeah,
she's been saying, she's like, dude, I'm done with football. Like, I'm just done. Like, I can't. How could I not support Spurs? But how could I support Spurs in this way? Like Ginty, I mean, yeah. What do you say?
Well, I think I was trying to get me first because, the reason that I follow Spurs is because I'm in Scotland, where it's a 2-horse race, and then one of the horses died. So, during high school, the team went bankrupt and were forced down to the 3rd division of Scottish football. And where I stay is it's a very religious divide, the two clubs. It's like a kind of like a the Istanbul thing, like the Fenerbahce Galatasaray kind of affair. And so where I stay is heavily Rangers, and they once that team, once they went to 3rd division, they stopped. The people around me stopped caring about the Scottish FPL because it was just us. It was just Celtic winning everything, So they started supporting English teams, and then that's how I got into Tottenham. Because I didn't want to choose don't want to be like one of these glory hunters, but I wanted to choose a side that was on the edge, and it's forever been on the cusp of winning something. Since I've started supporting.
You picked the right club, dude.
Yeah. So, but honestly, I was saying to him, man, if this went through, I would just be. I would hold it. They'd hold a place in my heart, and I'd be like, "Oh, I hope they do well," but I wouldn't actively follow Spurs anymore. I think I would just I don't know, St. Pauli because of the Celtic connection, or maybe some other maybe I quite like the story of AFC Wimbledon. And they're coming up. I think I'd like to maybe support some. So maybe if I've got the PSG in my league, of Celtic, then. Maybe I'll support some minnow team, and watch them rise, hopefully, or whatever.
That's right.
That's what I would do.
You see, it sucks for us North American fans because, we don't want to watch the MLS or the Canadian Premier League or we don't. That doesn't interest us, even though we should support are local teams, but
they're not teams; they're franchises. That's the thing. They're not even.
I don't feel I have
Team,
a
haven't you?
connection with any team.
Yeah, they don't
Haven't you
belong
got
to you.
Haven't you got a
Yeah.
local team, Anthony? You were
Yeah,
talking about
yeah.
this.
I'm actually a shareholder of Detroit City Football Club, which is part of the NISA League, NISA, and yeah, and so I've got a local club. I watch them. I follow them. I'm happy to. They were founded in 2012, and so right around the time I started watching Spurs. And the reason why I started following both of those clubs at the same time, and not my closest MLS club, which might have been Toronto or potentially Columbus, is for what you just said, Eunice, which is that's not my team. First of all, Toronto's in another country. Second of all, Columbus is in Ohio. And if you know anything about Michiganders in Ohio, we're not always the best of friends, So it's just like, I'm not going to support the Columbus team. So anyway, so I support Detroit City, and am an owner as well. And they're in a league that is so small. The promotion relegation is not started yet, but that's part of the founding of the NISA League, is to have it's modeled after what you see in Europe. So I would say look up Detroit City FC and check them out, and you can watch them online too. Shameless plug, but I really do feel like the as a Spurs
as an owner as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
you're just as bad as these other ones.
So true. Yeah, hands raised. You caught me, of course. But I mean, look at all the other clubs doing it. It's so funny to see like all these other clubs that are like, basically saying like, hey, you want to leave your club? Come buy our merch. Come buy, looking at our stuff. So anyway, I feel like, yeah, I don't want to watch the MLS. That's the whole reason why I started supporting Spurs, similar to you, Genty, and Eunice both, just saying like, hey, look, these are.
I started supporting Atletico Madrid 15 years ago when they got slapped by Barcelona 6-2. I enjoyed the game because I saw quality football from Atletico Madrid.
Yes.
And they were playing their hearts out.
Right.
They were placing 10th, 11th, 9th, 8th, 7th at that time. So it was like I knew this team was going to go far.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Spurs like 9 years ago.
Yep.
And both the teams now just
sold their souls. But see, this is the thing. This is what I actually who James, you're on here too. Did you have a thought about that? Will you still support Spurs if this all goes through?
I'll probably still support Spurs, but I also support a multitude of other teams. I support a couple of teams in Germany. One of them is Dortmund. And how I first came across Spurs was I liked Harry Kane. Yeah. And it was the season when they were when they were the finalists in the Champions League. That's when I first supported Spurs.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then alongside that, I was also supporting other teams, and that was also Dortmund as well.
Yeah.
Plus, there was a Dortmund documentary on Amazon Prime. If you haven't seen it, go and give it a watch. It is really good.
I've seen some of it. It is a good watch.
Yeah. So I see, and that's so I have this sad feeling. I mean, all of us have kind of said as much. Let me grab this really quick. Hold on. On Discord, I know you can't see it on the channel. I actually bought just literally 2-3 weeks ago the biography of Tottenham Hotspur from the Spurs website, and maybe that's the end of the biography. like, dude, I bought the last copy. This is it, dude. This is like from start to finish, and I was reading that first chapter, and part of the reason why I did it was twofold. Number one, I was just thinking, like, what is the future of our club? And before I get too far into what I imagine or dream the future of our club to be, I wanted to like get a real deep dive into the history of our club and you know, yeah, just kind of falling in love with who we are. And that first chapter of the biography is all about the Spurs way, right? The style, the flair, like how they play on the field. And I was just thinking about how that's been so maligned in the last couple of years with you know, Poch not winning any silverware, and you got Jose coming in. And this, well, you got to be practical to win trophies. And I would agree with that. It's like, dude, if playing practical would win me trophies, I guess I would take a trophy. But to be honest, I also just want to enjoy watching football. Like, I want to enjoy Spurs being Spurs. And so
not in the bad way.
yes, not being Spursy, but not giving up a 2-0 lead in the final 15 minutes or whatever.
Maybe you should grab a biro and get the front page of that and just put 1882 to 2021 for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying though, is like, so I got this and I'm like, man, I'm looking at this going, who are we? And then to have this happen, it does shift the foundation, I would say, of my allegiance to Spurs. And I'm not saying it's cracked. I'm not saying like I got this channel. I love talking about Spurs. It's something that is a real joy to me. We actually some of the guys that I've met through this channel and on our Discord server, we're going to watch the final together. And I've never, one I've met in person. The other one, you guys know Luke. He's the one that has all the crazy audio submissions. I'm going to meet him. And I feel like, dude, like Spurs brought us together. Like this it's wonderful. And us together. I mean, we're on a call right now because of Spurs, right? Yeah. Like this is crazy. Blows my mind that I was on a call with Bill in the Netherlands before work today. So I don't, none of that's going to change, I think, but there is this part that I can just sense. And it actually started with the appointment of Jose Mourinho, that you got all these Mourinhoistas or whatever you call them, that these people that are they just love Jose, and now they're gone or they're leaving, you can see them on Twitter being like, whatever they say, but
Twitter is insane.
Yeah, dude, Twitter is a light right now. It is insane. But what I'm getting at though is like, I think this ends up happening. It's the same thing that happens in like the NBA. It's like there's people that are fans of their franchise, like the Cleveland Cavaliers, but then there's people that are fans of LeBron. And it doesn't matter where LeBron plays. They're just fans of LeBron. And I would imagine, yes, those are. But see, Messi, this is why I love Messi more than Ronaldo. Because he's faithful, dude. He's still there.
Are you sure about that? I think he's more of the big bully in the playground.
Yeah, well.
You know what I mean? Think about how many presidents and managers he's got sacked because of who he is.
Well, yeah. So say what you will about that part.
Those tax evasions are looking pretty.
Okay. I'll admit my wrong. But I will say this though, like, I love Harry Kane. I mean, that's why I love Harry Kane. He's like, he loves Spurs. I think he really does. And I'm somewhat afraid that if they really do say he's not allowed to participate, he might leave.
Oh, where's he gonna go?
What do you mean?
Where would he leave to? Yeah.
To stay.
Any club would pick him up. You command?
I think anybody would.
No. Right. You're saying maybe I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Wasn't Anthony saying if the Super League goes ahead? Wait, no. Maybe I must have
misheard.
I must have misunderstood.
It's
you
okay.
were saying if they went for if they went to Super League, he would
Yes.
stop playing for England. So then he would have to leave Tottenham.
He would have to.
But where would he go? What, PSG? Bayern, because they're the only other two clubs who aren't
yeah
going to be in the Super League.
I don't think was there anything official from PSG that came out.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, they came out and said
I'm not sure about PSG, but I do know that Bayern and Dortmund, the German clubs, did.
They're definitely joining that Super League. They just want to win the Champions League.
Yeah. Well, and they're still in it. See, that's the thing. The threat came out before the announcement came that if you join this, you're kicked out. And PSG are still in the competition. And dude,
so is Man City. And
that's true.
You see what the did you see what the head of the Danish FA said? He's an executive on the
No, I didn't.
on the UEFA board. He said he expects Man City, Chelsea, and Real Madrid to be kicked out of the Champions League by Friday.
Oh!
Now, that could
So-
all just be that could all just be posturing.
Oh
But
my god!
He's
Imagine-
he's on the executive of UEFA. He's on the board,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he's
yeah.
the head of the Danish FA. So I think he does have some clout. And
Right.
so if they did that, I
PSG
mean,
would
ma-
win. But
they'd
then
win by
also,
default.
imagine that Pochettino gets
Yeah,
to the
dude.
final with further fails, and then gets to the quarterfinal and wins by default. That's so, what a crazy.
Dude, hey,
Maybe
you would imagine
maybe
then
bring back-
Arsenal would be kicked out of the Europa as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Man United.
And Man United.
And Man United, dude, Zagreb could win the Europa.
So we were beaten by the best.
We
That's
were
the-
beaten by the best. We can sleep easy. Oh gosh, thank goodness.
But do you think those German clubs would have accepted the invite
No,
if it wasn't for the 51% ownership?
I fully believe that all German clubs, including Dortmund, Bayern, Leipzig,
Mm-hmm.
will not accept at all, because going back to the 51% rule, 51% of most of the German clubs are run by the fans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I said like if it wasn't for the 51%, and
Yeah.
if it was like a modeled after Premier League, La Liga, and Serie A, and if it was like basically owned by the owners, do you think they would have accepted it?
I mean, it's an interesting one because Bayern and PSG are basically the top dogs in their own league, aren't they? And they are, for different reasons, you could argue, but they are the two biggest clubs in Europe who aren't participating in this new league. So it is quite interesting, but it might be for different reasons. I mean, they might just be, you know what, we're completely happy. We don't feel the need to be doing this because we're already in a very, very comfortable position. I mean, Man City are, so I don't know why. You know, it's hard to tell, like you were saying, Eunice, if it is about the 51% rule or if it's about other.
Alexander Hilton has said Poch can't bottle the final if nobody plays.
Nobody says no for extra money. Let's be real, right?
Say that again.
Sorry.
Nobody says no for extra money.
Well, yeah, that's what we're learning. That's definitely what we're learning.
If all the German clubs were run by normal owners, a bit like the Premier League, those German fans would have an outrage.
Yeah, in the same way, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just so crazy. And so so we haven't talked about the other main thing that happened this morning, which is Jose is out. All the people that have wanted Jose out, I was joking, like, dude, we got Jose out. What did it cost you? Literally everything. We've literally lost the whole game of football to get Jose out, but it has happened. And so yeah, what are some of our initial thoughts? What do you guys think? And then I can share too.
I
Oh,
There you go, James.
did we lose you?
Oh no,
There you are.
I'll say my reaction first before anyone else goes. If that's okay. All right. I was in college today. It might be slightly different to some others. But I was in college today. One of my friends told me that Spurs had sacked Mourinho. I thought he was playing the joke.
Oh yeah.
And as soon as it hit my break time / lunchtime, I made a mad dash to Sky Sports. They hadn't posted anything about it. So I looked on YouTube, and I see a lot of the fan channels from different clubs.
Yep.
All
jumping in.
Some of the Spurs fan channels were talking about it. Even a YouTube channel called the United Stand as well. and it was all popping off from then.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane that this has happened. I think, again, I really do think that Daniel Levy knew the announcement was coming about the Super League on Sunday, and I think he knew he was going to fire Jose after the draw versus Everton, because top 4 is done. It's not happening. But again, if we're going to be in the Super League anyway, I don't know why that matters. But it's just cover. The Super League is cover for Jose Mourinho being fired. Ginty, do you? Ryan Mason's coming in. Should we? Yeah. What are our thoughts about that? Tim Sherwood, the sequel?
Oh God. Please don't say such things.
Sorry.
You said that with such, positivity.
Oh. Hey, dude, he's got the highest win percentage of any manager that Eric Lamela has played for.
I mean, yeah, you say that, but Sam Allardyce has 100% winning record with England, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Let's not talk about the statistics. But,
Eric Lamela outlasted how many managers?
7.
Spurs?
Eric Lamela has played for 7 Spurs managers. Do you understand how nuts that is? Oh,
What?
I mean, actually, it's absurd.
It is. It is.
Crazy.
AVB, Tim Sherwood, Poch,
Mourinho. That's 4,
Mourinho,
right?
Ryan Mason. Wait, was there one before it? No, it wasn't before. So 5. 5. It still doesn't. It's still crazy.
He's leaving, isn't he? Potentially.
I would imagine, because they don't want it to be 6.
Yeah.
It's just.
But I don't know. I think he'll do okay, but I just, it's, as I was saying in the chat, like the timing of this is just like you're saying, like, the Super League stuff is good cover, but honestly, like, it would just be better if you think of his own kind of thing, because like what he could do is if Jose wins, right? It's an uphill battle. Okay, they're doing well. We're struggling. It's the level of competition. Like, they've got better players right now in much better form in most positions. So, like, it's going to be a struggle to win that, right?
Yeah.
If he wins, then he has an excuse to whether on to keep him or not. Maybe he can gauge, like, see the way the wind blowing on the fans, because we're so desperate for silverware that maybe a lot of people might say, okay, well, at least, but this is the start of something, because there's always that rhetoric that people can say, well, the first thing he won at Chelsea was the League Cup, and then he went on to do what he did, and all this that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, like, he could have seen where the wind was blowing,
right,
if he wanted to sack him then, or say, new management. But if he lost the final, then, like, no one is going to question that this was a bad option to take, and it just feels like I don't know, man, as a fan who is just desperate for silverware, to fire the coach who is famous for winning silverware in a cup competition, even if it's bad, even if it's apparently lost all the dressing room, I think that, maybe, like, we're not, unless they've got someone lined up straight away, like, it just seems like such a bad move, and optically it just looks terrible. It looks like a weird decision. It looks like such a rash decision from a board that's always labelled as slow to act or slow to do anything. It just feels weird. It really does.
Yeah, I think you do make a good point, though, about, like, if he wins the League Cup, then Levy's a little hamstrung. If Levy was thinking, I'm gonna fire him at the end of the season, no matter what.
Right.
If he wins the League Cup, then you've got, like, he won you your first silverware in however long. So now, why do you?
Then he's got a predicament.
Yeah, he's got.
Then he can get rid of the deadwood that he receives, and then he could, like, go with the Jose plan, if he wanted. That's a big if.
Yeah. Can I jump in here, Anthony?
Yeah, get in.
I think Mourinho was gone anyway, because the club, and I've mentioned this in the Discord, I don't know if it was last week, but recently, and just how sort of fractured, toxic the sort of the Tottenham community has become in these sort of these past few months, and you can really feel that there was this sort of Jose in, Jose out, and all of that sort of togetherness that was with the fan base during the Poch era has sort of dissipated, and that's kind of, and I imagine that's happened in the squad as well, and that's what Lloris was talking about,
right?
Zagreb. So Levy had to get rid of Jose, because when the fans come back in, it would have been optically that would have been so bad, because people just would have been booing, banners out. It would have been a horrible atmosphere, and I think it's better to chop and get rid now and just and move on. I agree that he would have been hamstrung if Jose had won on Sunday, because it makes him he's in a difficult position. I also think there is a case to be made, and this has been said on a few Spurs podcasts, that the new manager bounce is a bit of a myth, because I think it doesn't, 9 times out of 10 it doesn't actually really work.
Yeah.
But I think at least what you can do is the pressure's off.
Yeah.
Like, I think we'll lose to Man City regardless,
right?
Because I think they're in a better form, they've got a better squad. But I can in a way just see the logic saying, you know what, he's gone. We can integrate some of these players back into the squad. People can go in feeling a bit pumped. They've got a new opportunity to do something. I can see the sense in that. Now, whether it's the right idea, I don't know. I'm not a football manager or a football club owner,
right?
But I can see the sense in it.
Here's what's crazy, right? Is he just basically traded Jose out for Enik out? Like it's just there's no. I don't think anyone's going to be happy because of the Super League stuff. It doesn't. It's instead of everyone being upset about Jose and trying to say get Jose out of our club, now it's get you owners out of our club. Which
and everybody's united in that, right?
Yeah, I think so. But they're so far above it that they're unfettered by that. I just don't think they don't care. Sadly,
sacking should have been done a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
After the Zagreb game, maybe it would have salvaged a couple of those results that we had in the Premier League. But he should have been left for the final. Like fair play to him.
It probably could have been his swan song if he did stay for the final.
Yeah.
Or also cement it, and the media, like the way you could picture it, like he's fully done, like he's not won any of the competitions that he put into. But just a question, you guys, do you really Josie's out, right? That's it now.
Yep.
But you're saying integrate these players back, man? Apparently they're saying that like he lost the entire dressing room in the sources, like nearly every player, and only some players were playing quietly. No one kind of backed them up. I personally don't really want a squad that's got rid of 2 managers who, say what you want about Jose, right? He brings performances. He not performances in the sense of like watchable ones, but he brings results. Pochettino brought results. He dragged us out of gave us Champions League football nearly as much as one of the most consistent managers to get Champions League football in his era. So they were exceptional managers. Maybe if you don't like the football, that's separate.
Sure.
But the fact that they've got 2, as you would say, world class managers kicked out. Do you really want to? This squad just feels like a big, the job feels like a poisonous chalice, and I honestly just feel like there's so much dead wood, and there's I really just want to get rid of all, apart from Harry Kane and Heung-min, honestly.
I'm telling you right now, if Ryan Mason and the other coach, whoever his name is, brings back
Powell.
Eric Dyer into the squad, I'm running an agenda. Period.
I really just want to keep the only people I actually have enjoyed. Even Dombele, I don't know if he seems the quality he has, but maybe he just needs someone else to bring him back up again, back into that form. But Joe Rodon, Tanganga, Lloris, I'd still would keep for a couple of seasons at least until we can find someone to replace.
So many players need to be
regular, but there's so many players that need to just get out, man.
Yeah,
just go.
I agree, Ginty, but I also think I think Poch got sacked because I think the squad weren't performing, but I do also think that the squad wasn't up to it.
Yeah.
And they did, that was the time when they needed to replenish. So I think that's part of the reason why Poch failed.
Yep.
That the board didn't back him. In terms of Mourinho, I think they've got sacked for different reasons, and I don't attribute this solely that Jose's been sacked because the squad weren't performing. I also think Jose wasn't performing. Like, I think it's some of his methods that have really turned people off in the squad, and I think he is divisive.
But he would have been. Do you not think he would have been out a lot longer ago, and there'd been a lot more news about, like, a lot more things? This has been quite hush hush because he was just like, he was slamming them for months. Like, he was saying in press interviews that I am not asking them to do this. I am telling them to kill the game, to keep pushing forward, get more goals. He was saying it constantly for like the last couple of months, mate. And if he was lying, he was just flat out lying and just kept throwing them under the bus. I think there would have been a lot more like stuff would have been said. Only Dele Alli, because of how much he's been put as a fringe player, has even came close to being not in unison or saying anything, mate. I really do think that it's like, I don't think Jose he's telling them to do something, and like a lot of them are just not doing it.
Well, I think to what you both are saying, it's the divided locker room, right? It's like there are some that are in, and Regina just actually made a comment about this. She said Kane, Son, Mora, Højbjerg, and I just noticed Ben Davies did as well, have posted on their socials about Jose, thanking him for his work, wishing him the best. And you know, the question is who else, and I'm sure, you know, Dele has a really big story lined up, you know, thanking him for all he's done.
I wonder if Danny Rose posted on his...
Danny Rose, did you see that? All the media was in front of the did he
jump out of a van or something? I read something bad.
No, he pulls up in a van, and the reporter is like standing out there reporting in front of their training facilities. And Danny Rose jumps out of the van and says, "Hey, what are you guys doing here?" You know, like acting like he has no clue. And then he hops back in the van and drives off. Like
that is such a dumb move.
I think it's hilarious, dude. The guy,
I quite like it.
I feel like that guy. I mean, say what you will about his performances and, you know, his interview with the Sun and all that stuff.
I love Danny Rose.
He is the same person he was and he will be. Like that, you know who he is. Like, he's gonna be honest. He's gonna, you know, say it just like it is, at least from his perspective. And you feel for him. He just basically is running out his contract here. And
he's a Northern lad mentality. It's not right though.
But I do feel like the fact that we went 3 transfer windows, 3 full, January, summer, January, without rotating this squad, in this league where I do think money is what wins things, or at least that's what it seems to be. Except for Leicester, the random guy that won the lottery, and now we should all buy lottery tickets because Leicester won. You know, like I really do feel like that we didn't turn over the squad, and so we're reaping what we sown, which is nothing. And watching these contracts dwindle down, like Christian Eriksen, like Jan Vertonghen, like Danny Rose. It's just that's the part of Daniel Levy that just blows my mind. And I understand he was putting all these things together, but that goes back to that tweet that I was saying. If Daniel Levy has known this is coming for 2 years, he doesn't need to refresh the squad. He just has to get the club looking like a leading club to get into the Super League. It's profit over glory, just like you've heard. And but the question will be, will we really be the whooping boys of the Super League? Will they take the money that we're getting from this and actually invest in the squad? And not only invest in the squad, invest in the manager. Like, who do we bring in? Do you really think Nagelsmann will come in?
Yeah, that's
honestly, like, if we go in the European Super League, we're never going to. I don't think we should ever try and say we're going to win. We're just going to have to make our own little like competition between Arsenal and try and get above each other. That's it. That's what we'll do every year. That's our competition.
Hey, the North London Derby will have its own. I mean, it'll have its own little cup, and
Yeah.
we'll just take it and move it a couple miles. You know,
the whipping boy cup.
oh
North
yeah.
London Derby will be sharing leagues with the Madrid Derby, so
yeah. There you go.
There's
The
one
weird thing
manager
about-
which
Oh, sorry.
it's alright. There's one manager
Mm-hmm.
which no one, and I mean no one, not even the media, is talking about,
And
which has been a free agent since leaving Juventus.
Oh yeah.
Max Allegri.
oh, you think that?
He's in like one of the top 5, isn't he, in the betting thing?
Yeah.
Of people that potentially would take
yeah,
over.
I heard Bayern Munich was going after
Yeah.
him.
Really?
It was second to Nagelsmann.
Well, I
Yeah.
think that isn't that what also people are suggesting, that maybe we like, because the Bayern announced that their manager is leaving and he's going to be coaching Germany after
Yeah.
for the Euros, that maybe people are thinking that Nagelsmann or Allegri, who are the ones Bayern were kind of looking as a replacement,
Yep.
that Tottenham were kind of looking at, and we're just waiting out to the end of the season with Jose and then going for him. But now this is kind of forced their hand where they're going to try and get one of them first before Bayern do.
I mean, I think there could be something to that. There's also, I've just thought, there's all this talk about, Nagelsmann's too young to take the job.
Mhm.
Well, they've kind of beaten that. They've kind of Levy by getting Mason into the job
Mhm.
can then put Nagelsmann in and goes, what are you talking about? You know, Nagelsmann is 7 years his senior. He's not young at all. So it kind of nipped that one in the bud.
Yeah, dude, how old is Ryan Mason?
He's 29.
Oh my gosh, dude!
It's
Yeah.
not even turned 30.
Yeah.
Oh my.
The other thing is, though, right? Just briefly about the manager,
Yeah.
and they asked Thomas Tuchel, they asked Simeone
Mhm.
about the Super League. What are they supposed to say? Because those
Correct.
managers are in this kind of bracket of manager who will just kind of swap from club to club to club, right?
That doesn't work.
So if Simeone shouts his mouth off and says,
Mhm.
"Oh, this is a terrible idea,"
Yeah.
he's really, really severely limiting the next clubs he could go to after
Correct.
Atletico Madrid, right?
Right.
And it's going to be a really odd one to see how this pans out, because
Mhm.
you could end up just seeing this merry-go-round of managers
Yep.
where, you know, we could get Nagelsmann, say, but then or we get Allegri, and
Yep.
then 2 seasons down, then we go get Klopp or
Right. Or Zidane or somebody.
or Zidane, exactly, because there's only like 12 clubs that they could ever move to.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is, like, these Super League clubs will have the money to pay them. Do you know what I mean? Like they'll be able to say, like, hey, we can offer some securities. And that's where it's like, it's just so, it's sad. But again, I go back to the initial question, which is, would you rather be Everton right now? Would you rather be sitting on the outside of this and looking at it going, well, that's happening, and I
wouldn't
don't
want to be Everton, because aren't they building like this?
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Yeah.
They're building a
700
stadium
million
for the
pound
Champions
stadium.
League. Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
I cut you off a little bit, but so you would rather not be
No.
where they're at?
Because they would have accepted the invite if we had refused.
Sure.
But let's be real here.
I think they would have.
I think
Yeah,
every club.
because then you can set up a Merseyside derby as well, can't you? 'Cause
Yeah.
Can you imagine Everton? They're going to be deprived of like their rivals. So even if this goes ahead, at least we still get to play Arsenal. Now you can say,
Right.
what does it matter? There's nothing at stake. But
Yep.
you're not losing that kind of evil twin,
Mm-hmm.
whereas Everton would be, and Liverpool as well to a degree. Although obviously they've still got United.
Right. Well, I think that's a really interesting point, Bill, about like the rivalries of the English clubs and potentially the rivalries of the Italian clubs, the Spanish clubs, right? So you've got the London clubs, you've got the Manchester clubs, and Liverpool, but Liverpool has a rivalry with United. So you at least
teams.
yeah. So you have these maybe hubs of rivalries.
Madrid and El Clasico as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah. These, I'm not saying they're like scripted, but they're scripted. You know, like they're chosen because they are the best storyline to promote in the advertising and all that stuff. And I'm not really sure you see a North London derby in Dubai or whatever as often as you might think. You know, when I think of like even in American sports, and you talk about the Super Bowl and stuff like that. Yeah, you're right. Maybe the biggest game of that season ends up being, but I wouldn't say it's in Dubai, but I would say it's in one of those cities with their you know, their stadium, their fans, etc. But I don't think, you know, just like in American sports, you go to your home games. You don't really go to your away games, for the NHL or for, you know, Major League Baseball or whatever, because you can't travel that far. I mean, you're talking, it's insane.
Yeah.
And so in the same way, in some ways, I could see these owners going, it's going to be safer. You know what I mean? The North London Derby will still be the North London Derby, but you're not going to have, you know, thousands and thousands of fans descending on a city in the same way that they used to. You're going to have the home fans are going to fill up that stadium. Everyone's going to be merry unless they lose, you know. And so that becomes, again, another piece of that that ownership wanting the securities. What's that?
Where's the fun in that? Like, where's the taste?
It's
like, it's tasteless.
It's tasteless in the same. It's. I would agree with you, but it's what I can see what they're trying to sell, which is it works over here in the States. You know, like you still have people that go to the games and enjoy the games, but it's like an event. The sport is not the sport anymore. It's an entertainment event. And so, and I'm not saying I like this. I'm trying to describe it. It's an entertainment event with entertainers on the pitch. And that's why I in part I'm surprised that Jose got sacked, because he's an entertainer. I mean, the guy's insane. He's just crazy with his Instagram and all that stuff.
Yeah, but his football's not entertaining, is it?
Well,
I mean, the most exciting thing about him is his press conferences, and that's about it with Jose.
Well, you can argue that, and maybe that's part of it too. But it's like the idea of having these entertainers out on the field week in and week out, having, you know, Holland and whoever come to this Super League or one of these Super League clubs. You know, you could even look at Spain and Italy and some of these, you know, these other leagues where it's not nearly as competitive. Now they have more matches that will be more competitive. It's not nearly as competitive for you know, the British teams, but it is for Real Madrid, I would say. I don't know.
Yeah.
So who do you want?
I think honestly,
we can.
Players came out, man, and just said something. I honestly just it'd be great if it like they try this and then all the best players just say stuff this and move on, you know, because like who wants to you watch Barcelona versus Real Madrid, but who wants to play them when they're like, I don't know, bloody they just look at absolute like crap players playing for them, you know. It's kind of thing. You know what I mean?
What can they say though? Like, if they want to leave their clubs, where are they gonna go?
Right.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, like, but like, there's already clubs that have came out, and like, I mean, I think there's been several PSG players that have like posted in their social media saying that they hate this. It's so anti-football. It's so against what they want, and these kind of things.
That is such a bit of BS, though, isn't it? Really, it's like, oh, the PSG players are coming out saying it's anti-football. look at the club of PSG, right?
I mean, I was just using them as an example. You didn't have to. Jesus, they shoot me down like that, man. He came at me, just with venom there, mate. I was just giving an example. Damn,
it's like PSG playing the world's
I was just trying to think
tiniest
like,
violin. I've got no time for them.
Well, I'm saying they're the biggest club that's not part of this. That's what I mean. That's why I said it, because the biggest players are part of that club. Because every other club that is got big players is involved in this. Apart from Bayern.
I think who was it who said in the chat? I think there's something to that about Qatar owning PSG and them having a World Cup, and then I think there is a bit of conflict of interest there because they're hosting a World Cup and running PSG at the same time. The same sovereign state.
But then you have the likes of UEFA and FIFA calling it a war on football. It's like you're the last ones to teach me morality about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you've been corrupt for how many years now, from top to bottom? Just be
Yeah.
quiet.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they're upset that someone else has been more corrupt than them. You know.
Yeah, right.
Like that's
Yeah.
our job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, just to answer one quick question in the comments, haven't FIFA said they might get involved and stop these players from playing for their country? I would say I think they are saying that, and that's kind of what I was saying earlier. These players are going to have to make that decision. It sounds like, because the clubs aren't going to make it for them. Harry Kane's going to have to decide: does he want to play for England or does he want to play for a Super League team? And I don't know what he would do, because he's Harry Kane and he's been faithful to Tottenham when many other players wouldn't be. So, but when you start to think about some of these other guys, I don't know. You look at like what's his name, Cristiano Ronaldo, as an example. Is he going to win the World Cup with Portugal? Probably not. So he's
less time to get injured.
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's what I think these clubs are going to do. They're going to say, "Look, that means you don't have to play in all these competitions, and you can still make all this money, and
right.
just be a Super League player." They're going to just try and make some sort of allure and esteem to it rather than playing for your league. Because
I think for some players, that will be a deal breaker, not being able to play
Totally.
like the Euros and the World Cup. But if you like you're saying, if you're from a country which you don't qualify for these international competitions anyway, or it's really hard, then it makes no difference, does it? Because
Christian Pulisic is going to play for Chelsea. I can promise you that. He's not going to be playing for the United States. But okay, so here's to kind of wrap this up on a little bit of a lighter note. Who makes your starting 11? Or who do you think maybe Ryan Mason picks in his starting 11 for the final? Do you guys think Bale gets back in, Dele gets back in, or is it same old, same old?
But I don't know about you guys, but I'm digging the idea of Danny Rose facing Kyle Walker.
He's unregistered though. That would be amazing.
Oh
wow.
So who do you think though, for real?
Steven Bergwijn for sure. Stevie B. He's gonna get his first goal. He's gonna get his first goal of the season. Oh, for real? Who's gonna start?
Yes.
I don't know. I've got no idea.
So you got to have Sonny and Harry are definitely in. You got Lloris definitely in.
I think
Højbjerg.
Toby and Rodon for me.
Toby and Rodon?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Reguilon or do you go for Ben Davies?
I think you go for Reguilon.
Because he's been a bit iffy recently.
Dude, look, I'm not getting into this, but I have said from the start he's iffy.
Really?
But isn't Gentle Ben still? He's not been. He's ruled out.
Yeah, I think he is ruled out from injury. So it's going to be Reguilon.
We've got
Reguilon does need a rest because he has been playing a lot of games when Ben Davies probably should have been playing some games to counter the match fitness.
Yeah.
But Ben Davies was playing loads, wasn't he, when Reguilon was injured?
Yeah.
That was the problem. They weren't rotating properly.
So
it's because they had one player out, but then Jose was forced to play the other player.
Yeah.
Because the primary
Who's your centre-backs?
playing the position was already injured.
Yep.
My centre-backs would be Toby and Rodon.
Yeah.
What would be interesting is on the right, like Bale and Doherty or
Doherty's still injured.
Still injured, yeah. So it's Kane, Davies, and Doherty that are out.
Well, I don't think Kane
is
out.
Is Kane definitely out?
No. It's still, well, I mean, according to the the update in Premier League injury one, he's at 20. He's currently being assessed. His status is 25%. So
for Southampton or for the final, do you know?
It just says they said on Friday. Too early to say something for him.
Okay.
To leave the pitch with a few minutes to go, obviously because he felt something. There's no potential return date, and he's currently being assessed. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he be
So
out.
he's a question
So
mark.
are we still saying Aurier then for right back?
I think so.
I think that's all you
Tanganga.
got. What else do you have? Tanganga?
You could have Jaffa. Yeah, you could have Jaffa Tanganga.
Maybe.
Played all right last time I saw him there.
Yeah.
But did he start against City?
Yeah, he
last
did.
game?
Yeah,
don't know.
and that didn't end very well the last time we played them. So wait, so we definitely got Ndombele. No? Ndombele, Højbjerg? Or do you bring in Deli?
Dele in the 10.
Or even the Celso.
Yeah, Lo Celso. You got Lucas, Lamela. So many options. So
What about like, you know, like Højbjerg sitting behind in Ndombele and Dele Alli just freeforming like his third potential striker or something. You know?
I'm not against it.
So if you had Højbjerg, Ndombele, and Dele,
Mm-hmm.
and then what you'd have, say if he's fit, then you would have Kane, Son, and Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have
Okay.
Lucas over Bale. I don't know, mate. I'd have Bale. I'd have Bale, mate. Just I don't even if he is like. I mean, I don't know that comment about him being like, you know, he's saying how he's going to go back to the. I think he kind of just. I honestly feel like he maybe fumbled that because like it's in his contract, he has to go back to Madrid.
I agree.
You know. So
I don't hold that against him. He's contracted to Madrid. What else can he say? Right?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm just thinking like, do you press? Do you sit deep? If you're going to press, I would rather have Lucas because he's going to be running about. I don't really.
Yeah.
It does depend on the tactics that you're going to do because I sort of think.
Totally.
What do you think?
No sitting back. We sat back against them and then we got slapped 3-0.
No, exactly. So I'd have Lucas.
We also sat back against them and beat them 2-0 in the start of the season.
That was like early on in the season.
Back when we trusted our back four. Regina says it's this is starting 11 roulette all over again. Delete says Tanga next to Toby Tanganga, and then Mason at right back because he's back. So player manager. Hey, I'm actually surprised they didn't just do that with Harry Kane. Although he doesn't seem to be the leader that I would want being the manager.
Oh my God, no, he'd be terrible.
Harry Kane is not leadership material at all.
No. I don't. He's just
a
a quiet.
He's
does
a
his
silent
job.
leader.
Yeah, he just.
All
does
right,
his
guys, come
job.
on, we're gonna have a really good game now. Come on, let's all have some great. Let's go win this game. Come on! I mean, that would just beat it, wouldn't it? It's so tough.
Yeah, it was tough
I don't
to
know
see
how
those.
he's England's captain. To be honest, I'm baffled.
Well,
Like,
it's it's that thing about leading by example.
Leading by example, yeah. He's trying to
he's early, he stays late, etc. One more thing. Sorry, I'm gonna sneeze. Yeah, basically, just wanted to also mention that Dane Scarlett has also said, "I will forever be grateful that you brought me into the first team, believed in me enough for my Tottenham debut. Thank you for everything and good luck in the future." Dane Scarlett is another one. Do you think he makes the bench?
Yes.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I have this feeling that it's going to be a really heartfelt team. You know, like I could be wrong about that, but it's going to be attacking. It's going to be this Tottenham
It's going to be a team for the fans.
Yeah, team for the fans. Yeah, and there will be fans there. So hopefully,
Ginty. If we see Spurs perform this weekend with energy and passion, then we'll have a better idea of whether it was the squad and the team not performing for Jose, or whether there's actually something wrong. Because if it's still exactly the same under Mason for this game, and they don't turn up and they've got no energy and they're not putting an effort in, then we'll know.
Are you laying the gauntlet? Are you laying the gauntlet down that you're going to put a big old thing on the text chat for Talking Tottenham saying I was wrong, Ginty was right. I'm a big fat loser.
Oh, listen, I don't need to be. I don't need to watch that game to know I'm a big fat loser, Ginty. I'll protect that already.
So I do think that I don't think that I definitely don't think one game. This goes back to like I saw that there was a tweet somebody made that saying that if Jose Mourinho brings one cup to Spurs, he's done more for Spurs than Poch did, and I just think that's
what a load.
it's just so crazy because you would never use that same logic for Ryan Mason. Ryan Mason will not do more for the club if he wins this final on Sunday. But I do think that how the rest of the season plays out will tell us a little bit about if the players were playing or not playing for Jose. But I still think the team needs an overhaul. And it's not so much about bringing the players in. It's about getting players out. And
Can you imagine playing the Super League with Dyer and Doherty?
Oh,
and
yeah,
Sanchez?
dude.
Like,
Yeah, it's insane.
Our team is just even like flushed down the toilet, man. With that.
Yeah, it's not
Awful.
It's not doing
We've
well.
been needing the rebuild ever since Pochettino left.
Yeah.
We've been needing it. And
yeah.
once we had the new stadium, we were going to then use that as a leapfrog to get every player possible into our squad and get out all the dead wood.
Yep.
But COVID has completely abolished the plan that we had.
Well, I would agree with you in some ways, but I feel like it yes, in the sense of incomings maybe, but it's still I think Levy needs to just bite the bullet and say we're gonna lose money on Danny Rose. We're gonna lose money on whoever else he wanted to get rid of. He just didn't ever get rid of those players, and I think to ice out Danny Rose from the squad, to not even register him for any competition for an entire year. It's not just what that does to the player, it's what that does to the club. There's just a guy he's participating with the U23s or whatever it is. It sends, I think, an icy message throughout the whole club that like you can just be around and we'll pay you to just be around as long as you just don't bother us. And that I don't know. I just feel like that's.
Do you think Danny Levy's been a bit cynical with like jumping into the Super League because it means they can get 300 odd million potential a year, and he has to spend like anything to like remove all the deadwood, because let's be honest, I think fans the majority of fans are not going to think we're going to be winning the Super League, but the majority of fans think if we rebuild, we could potentially be title contenders.
Yeah,
if given the right amount of money, but against all those clubs going into a Super League, even with a rebuild, you think we probably wouldn't stand a chance a lot of the time.
Yeah,
I mean, it's going to be a big summer because I think I read an article that we might be losing Aurier for PSG again.
Yeah,
that's another issue.
Yeah, it's an issue, but it's not the worst thing in the world, in my opinion. I feel like he is such a loose cannon that it's like I would rather upgrade him.
Yeah.
Because Doherty was definitely not an upgrade.
Yeah.
I think you should get Max Aarons because, like, honestly, like I think we're forgetting also we get the double barrel of a problem, which is we need a rebuild and we need homegrown talent. But who knows? Maybe with the Super League, that's an issue. We don't need any more because we don't have to go by that rule anymore. But
for that competition, that's what's going to be interesting. Is like what does the competition require or not require?
I don't think it require any home rule because that's all grassroots football stuff, and that's no way. It's all about money. They just want to have all the superstar players, which means any nation. Yeah. But if we're going, we're struggling for English players, and English players are so hard, like so expensive. Like if you're English and you're good, it adds 20 million to your easily.
Yep.
And it's just
we should have done what Arsenal did in January and just tear up the contracts. They got rid of like a fair few of their squad.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, you're going to make a loss on these players, but it's for the benefit of
the squad,
ethos of the team, and actually getting rid of some of those hangers-on and who are going to be a militant force at the club and are going to be stirring it and are going to be jumping out of the back of a van and taking them in.
For real.
Do you really think that Levy believes in the short-term loss, long-term benefit?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Levy. I really have no idea what's up Levy's sleeve. The
you must know. Because the stadium, surely that shows his mentality with the stadium, the way he. Surely, if you analyse the whole build of the stadium and his reaction to the stadium, you would get his philosophy on that stuff.
Yeah.
The man is a genius when it comes to business. Like, this guy is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But
he's probably, in terms of a business mind, he's probably got one of the best business minds in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah. But again, I don't know if that's it's a business mind. I don't know if that's a club mind. You know, it's like I'm not a fan of the business, the Tottenham business. You know, like I've never been like that. Like I'm not Apple. You know, I'm not like picking a business and just getting behind them. I picked Spurs because they're the type of club I want to follow, and their style of play, who they are, like. I feel like that identity has been lost, and I've been saying that in the last couple of videos about Spurs losing their soul a little bit, and I feel like this is just kind of making it more obvious. And I'm super disappointed because I feel like this Super League will certainly taint the way that everybody certainly feels about the club that they've supported for so long. I hope that this decision is almost more of a breaking point, I think, for me than when Daniel Levy said in the docuseries, the Amazon docuseries, like, we'll see if this decision works well with Jose Mourinho and his appointment. Well, it didn't. And we'll see if this Super League thing goes well, because it might just wash out I would say the real, the true supporters and fans of Spurs. And that would be a real shame. So, guys, thanks so much for bringing in your conversation and sharing your thoughts. I'm gonna have to wrap this up, but appreciate chatting about it, and we will see. We'll see what happens for the final, and hopefully, does anybody think we're gonna win?
I hope so.
I don't think so. No.
I think if we follow Alexander Hilton's suggestion that we get back Martin Jol with an upfront four of Dane, Kane, Son, and Vinicius, we'll have a shout. We'll have a chance. Or we could have David Moyes in the comments there as well.
Yeah, I saw that Eunice Moyes in.
What to say.
So funny. All right, guys, thanks so much.
Are you going to be doing a watch along?
No, I'm not going to be doing a watch along because I don't want to have a depressing watch along. If it was,
watch it with us big fat losers, me and Jinty.
Yes, hop on and we'll watch some stuff together. But all right, thanks guys, I appreciate it.
All right, have a good.
Cheers.
Have a good day, night.
Later. All right, this was awesome. It was good to talk with some people. I've been seeing these comments in here, some of these names that are being put in. David Moyes saying that, some of these guys are can't even make or compete in the championship. Dele Alli washed. I'm not sure if Dele Alli is fully washed. I do think he is riding the struggle bus. But I'm hoping that Spurs can get the W in their next Premier League game, and certainly see a bit of a bounce for the League Cup final. But I'm not convinced. It's a sad time for Spurs. And yeah, like I joked, I think, man, this biography, maybe it is Spurs as we know it kind of coming to an end. I sure hope not. And it's kind of like a wait and see at this point. We'll see what the rest of the season brings, how the players play for Ryan Mason, who they bring in as a manager. It's going to be interesting stuff to keep watching. But if you haven't joined already, join our Discord server and be part of that conversation. There should be a link in the description. And as I like to say on here, as ever, it was great talking with you.